everybody. My name is Praygod Japhet. I'm from Agritechs, which is a company focused on defining the future of farming. I'm really humbled to be here. Thank you to Sahara Ventures and Sahara Sparks. And before I dive into Agritechs, I would like to brief you on what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about rethinking agriculture, African agriculture in the fourth industrial revolution. So I will pass through where we've came from in the general agriculture sector. I'll also talk about where we are as Africa and what should be done to cope up with the trends in the fourth era. So, but before I go into that, let me introduce you about Agritechs. Like I said, Agritechs is focused on defining the future of farming by harnessing the power of modern technologies to create smart, sustainable, environmentally friendly, and affordable solutions to challenges that are facing farmers in Africa, and we are starting with Tanzania. So far, we have this automated climate smart farming system that is focused on helping people with small areas, people with unreliable water flow, and people with little time to focus on farming, to farm on their smaller spaces such as the backyard, parking lot, rooftop, balcony, with 5 times more yield increase, reduce water loss by 90%, and save up to 730 hours that could be used to manage the crops annually through irrigation automation and remote monitoring of the variables that influence crop growth, such as pH, nutrient content, and water level and temperature through our mobile phone application. So here is how it works and how it embeds the whole concept of fourth industrial revolution. So we have plastic containers which is a combination of soil nutrient and water where plants are inserted. So we have sensors that collect information about the pH, nutrient level, temperature, and water level. So pass the information to the gateway pass the information to the cloud platform, and then the cloud pass the information to our customer's mobile phone application and our dashboard. So the information comes as a notification with the recommendation on what to do in case something is not right. So because I'm not here to talk about Agritechs, let me start about African agriculture in the fourth industrial revolution. When a lot of people hear about fourth industrial revolution, they think or they imagine sitting behind a computer and doing coding and programming, especially when it's in the field of agriculture. And as a result, they cannot relate because most people imagine agriculture is all about tilling or plowing the land, so putting the seeds or harvesting and all that. But there's more than that. Let's have a snapshot of where we've come from in the agriculture sector. The first era that you see here, I could say in general, the industrial revolutions has had tremendous effects in the agriculture sector. The first picture you see here is the first industrial revolution tool that was made for agriculture. It was just a simple hand hoe, and people were focused on making farming a little bit easier. And this happened a lot of thousands of years ago. And second industrial revolution was a little bit advanced tools by that time, where the oxens were used to pull the multi-body plows. And then we came to the fourth industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, where we are right now. So as you see, the activities around the agriculture sector are highly mechanized. Engines, as you see, the tractor, watering, which means irrigation is done by using engines, and also even the harvesting. People don't harvest by using hands anymore. They use machineries such as combine harvesters, which does everything from cutting, threshing, and winnowing, and all that, and all those processes. So I could say, from whenever the industrial revolutions started, these are the impacts that the agriculture sector have been seeing, and the advantages that have been. The focus has been on increasing productivity by reducing labor that's used in the agriculture sector. So the question is, has Africa been catching up? Yes, Africa's been catching up. Why? Because every day in our daily lives, we see those machineries being used in the farms in Africa. But also, Africa has not been catching up. Why? Because today, Africa imports annually food worth of more than $35 billion. It's even more worse than that, because 2025, just 6 years from now, Africa is expected to be importing food worth of $110 billion. Yet, Africa has more than 60% of world's arable land. Also, 70% of Africans are engaged in agriculture. With this land and with all those people engaged in agriculture, why should we be importing that amount of food? So I could say yes, Africa's been catching up, but also we have not been catching up, because we are still importers of things that we can grow by ourselves. So now the question is, how do we use fourth industrial revolution tools such as machine learning, such as artificial intelligence, such as Internet of Things, to make sure that Africa is food sustainable, to make sure that African agriculture is a business, and Africa's ability to produce her own food sufficiently. Let me give you an example. Last week, I received a call from a farmer in the village in Arusha, north side of this country. He called me and told me, Praygod, you know, this year I planted 10 hectares of maize, but unfortunately, I have only harvested 5 bags of maize. 5 bags of maize, which are less than $100. And I was like, are you kidding me? He was like, no, it's even worse than that. Why? Because the rain didn't come. Africa, those Africans who are engaged in agriculture, 70% are all smallholder farmers, and they all depend on rain-fed agriculture. They all practice rain-fed agriculture. And he's one of those millions of farmers. And it's even more complicated because the rain didn't come on time. So as Africans, most of farmers has their own predictions, measures, which they know, oh, the rainfall is about to come, so we are going to plant, or we're going to sow the seeds. So they did that. They sowed the seeds, the rain didn't come. And when they came, when the rain came, they had to plow the land again and plant again. So that is, the cost of food is 2 times. The cost of machinery is 2 times. And that farmer I'm talking about has 2 well-functioning tractors and other mechanizing activities, which makes his activities very much reliable. So he didn't know that the rain would come late, and so he planted. And when the rain came, he didn't know that it was going to come again, so he planted again. That's a lot of money. He was telling me, I've spent more than 10 million Tanzanian shillings, which is about $5,000. So there are thousands, and there are millions of farmers like him who has the will, has the drive to practice agriculture, but what they miss is data. Just imagine if the farmer had information about the weather condition, when was it going to rain, and by tracking the trend, maybe you could know how much is it going to rain, how long. So the concept here is to move from agriculture that's only focused on sowing the seeds and hoping for the rain to come, to agriculture that a farmer plants the seeds, sows the seeds, and knows that the rain is going to come. So there is where the fourth industrial revolution can intervene. That's just one area that the fourth industrial revolution can intervene. Now ask yourself, how many farmers in this continent, in Africa, are dependent on rain? And what could be saved, or what could be done if the fourth industrial revolution tools, such as Internet of Things, was used to make smart, or they call it automatic weather stations? What could happen? They could perform agriculture as a business because they have all the information that they need. So where are we now? We're in the age where we have to use fourth industrial revolution tools to collect data about agriculture and disseminate data. Data for precision farming, which means you don't make a decision about your farming activities unless you're informed, unless you are well informed. Data for relevant policy formulation. African policies, I could say sometimes you even wonder, why is this policy like this? They need data, and you talk to the policymakers and they also don't have information. Why? Because they cannot collect information by themselves. We can leverage the fourth industrial revolution tools to come up with facts, and those facts that they can be used to formulate relevant policies that can push the agricultural sector forward. Also, data for channeling investment. It's too risky to invest in agriculture. I don't know about other countries in Africa, but in Tanzania, there are people. As a professional in agriculture, I meet people who tell me, I was told agriculture is a very lucrative sector. But I went, planted watermelon 4 hectares, and I lost all of them. Why? I didn't know the status of the soil. Why? Because identifying the status of the soil takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But what if we used fourth AR tools to just like soil scanner, and to scan the status of the soil, and in 5 minutes you have the results, how much NPK is there, how much pH is there. What if we did that? We could, people could invest at the right places, and there won't be people who are complaining. African agriculture is not paying. So, what's happening in Africa? Africa, especially in the fourth industrial revolution area, Africa is catching up. This is a map by Brighter Bridges. I hear they are presenting somewhere else. So they mapped agricultural technology companies that are harnessing the fourth industrial revolution tools to bring solutions. And those companies are more than 280 across Africa. So there are companies that are doing different stuff, like other focused on providing marketing information, other focused on logistics, on urban farming, that's hydroponics, other focused on farmers sharing information, other focused on using AI to know the status of the plant health, other focused on using drones to know the fertilizer status of the soil. So there is something happening in Africa, and this is what we have to focus on. So how do we focus on this? That's a very open. That's a very open question that somebody could come up with lots of answers because the loopholes are many. But as for me, I would only cite this one thing that should be done and leave the rest to others. I think youth are the future of African agricultural sector. Why? Because there are many in Africa. 61% of African population is under 24. 10 million youths graduate from African universities annually. But only 20% of them have job security, which leaves 80% they don't know what to do. Yet, we're about to import 110 billions worth of food, where there are like 8 million people in our streets. But not just that, the fourth industrial revolution tools that we are talking about in this event, most of them require people with internet literacy, people who can use the internet, people who can leverage the technologies such as a mobile phone. And those youth who are graduating from universities know how to use these devices. And I could say it's much easier to channel or to strategically push those youth to engage in agriculture and harness the fourth industrial revolution tools than to go into the villages and train a 8-old years farmer how to use a mobile phone. Most of them don't know how to read. So the future of African agriculture is in the youth. And the future of African agriculture is on the leveraging the fourth industrial revolution tools to provide personalized services about the agriculture. Today, I just said Jumane was talking about the statistic of people who own mobile phones in Africa, and it's very high. But in this age, a mobile phone is not just a communication tool. If we are really harnessing the fourth era, it's not just a communication tool. It's an agricultural input like any other, because you can actually train a farmer about how to farm better by using this phone or by using a feature phone. So it's just a matter of ensuring access, reliable access to fourth industrial revolution tools, reliable and easy, which could be another point. And I just want to point this out that one of the threats that fourth industrial revolution could have in the agriculture sector is a very wide gap between successful farmers and farmers who are not successful. Why? Because farmers who can really harness the fourth industrial revolution tools will be able to produce so much with so less. They'll be able to produce so much by employing very less inputs. How? Just imagine a farmer who knows exactly in 10 acres or in an acre field of land where exactly fertilizer is missing, because it's not always uniform, as you know that. Where exactly fertilizer is missing and which exact fertilizer is missing. So the farmer goes to the shop and buys exactly that type of fertilizer that's missing and applies right where it's needed by just using a soil scanner and applying right where it's needed. The farmer will be able to produce so much by using so less compared to a farmer in the village who doesn't use a soil scanner as a tool of fourth era. He was just told that you have to apply 50 kilograms per acre. They don't know where exactly fertilizer is missing. They don't know what kind of fertilizer is missing. So we have to leverage this. This comes to the governments and organizations that are stakeholders in the agriculture sector. they have to make it easier for all farmers, all people to access fourth industrial revolution tools, so as to ensure that we don't create a gap between those who are successful and those who are not successful, because that's likely to happen in Africa. And what has to be done? Those could be the two things I would like to point out, and leave the rest to the panelists when they come to discuss further about fourth industrial revolution in the agriculture sector. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Praygod. 61%.